We're here for the 425 show. We're going to get rolling here in just a second. Good morning. It's Nicole Mangina with Windermere Real Estate, and this is the 425 show, your place to be for all things real estate and lifestyle related in the 425, because I believe that buying and selling real estate is about so much more than bedrooms and baths. It's about the people, the places, the businesses, and the events that create the community that ultimately is the backdrop for our lives. And we have a wonderful and very timely guest with us today. We didn't pre-plan this, but it's perfect given what happened this past weekend. We have Arden Clise of Clise Etiquette here, sharing all kinds of tips. Arden has been in business for over 10 years now, helping people navigate both personal and professional etiquette and manners situations, haven't you? Good morning, Arden.
Good morning, Nicole.
I know.
It's a pleasure being here.
Oh, I'm so excited. This is a topic that is near and dear to my heart because I feel like it doesn't get enough love on a daily basis, and yet it makes a big difference in our lives. I think one that we don't realize because, you kind of don't know what you're doing or not doing. But gosh, Meghan Markle married Prince Harry over the weekend.
Yes.
Fantastic
Fantastic wedding.
Yes, in fact, so now she's an honorary Brit, a culture that I associate with impeccable manners. So I think it's a good time for us to all brush up on ours today, in case the next royal wedding happens and maybe I get an invite. I'd like to be prepared.
There you go.
So I'm happy that you're here today.
Yay.
And you do all kinds of things. I know you coach individuals, you teach classes, you have camps for kids, which my boys have done. We're going to talk about that later. You do a lot of speaking. You write for the Puget Sound Business Journal, 425 Magazine, the Wall Street Journal. You were just on TV, actually.
Just on TV, yeah.
Doing a tea party.
Yes.
So we could all up our game with tea party etiquette. I love it.
We could. It was very fun.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here today. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's a beautiful day out. I'm happy to come and talk about etiquette and the lovely 425 area.
Exactly. So how did you get started with all of this?
Well, so many years ago, I worked for Washington Mutual, the bank. They rest in peace.
I feel like we need taps music now.
I know. And my first job there was giving sponsorship money to local nonprofits for their fundraising events.
Okay.
So like their lunches and their breakfasts and dinners, that kind of thing. So we'd always get a table in exchange of our sponsorship, and I'd have to fill the tables, and I would see people come and sit down at these, look at the full place setting, and just look panicked. Like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Which fork do I use? Which bread plate is mine? And I thought, oh my gosh, if only they knew a couple of tricks, they would feel so much more confident and relaxed, and they wouldn't be worried about this.
Right.
So that was sort of the seed planter many, many, many years ago. And then several years after that, I worked for a credit union, and the CEO kept asking me for etiquette advice.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know why.
Now, were you raised in a family where manners and etiquette were a big deal, or a lot of emphasis was placed on that, or?
I don't know if it was any more than any other family.
Okay.
I mean, in fact, as a kid, I hated it. I really did. I did not like manners. I thought they were silly. But, I think as I got older, I really appreciated the comfort that you get when you know kind of the expectations.
It's true, right? You're just more relaxed.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the approach I really like about etiquette. It's not that it's these, dogmatic, hard and fast rules that you have to follow. It's more that when you know these things, you can relax and be more comfortable. And you can choose to use the etiquette rules or not.
Right, which I think is interesting because I think that's actually probably the opposite of what people think, right?
Yes.
It's like once you know these rules, then they're afraid they'll be robotic in a situation, right? Because now you're not being you're more focused on the etiquette. But I think it's actually the opposite. It's like you said, once you know how to handle different situations or what the proper thing to do or say is, you actually get to show up and be more of yourself because you are more relaxed. And in fact, again, if you're tuning into the Facebook Live, welcome. You can catch that on my Nicole Mangina business page. I can see somebody posted something. Again, I can't see that far, so sorry if we're not answering your questions. But if you have questions, be sure to post them on that Facebook page underneath the video, and we'll make sure we get your questions answered after the show. So wonderful. So great. So you started, so it just was a natural progression then.
Yeah, it was.
What you did.
And for so many years I wanted my own business, and I had a million ideas, coffee shop or a natural pet food store, all sorts. I was all over the board. And then, as the etiquette started creeping in, I was like, maybe there's something around. I thought it was more leadership coaching.
Okay.
And then worked with a coach, and she had me do a lot of research, and I discovered, it's business etiquette. That is really what I'm interested in. Mm-hmm. So I actually went to school and got trained.
I love it.
Yeah, there's schools that you can go to get into etiquette and protocol and children's manners programs, etc. So St. Louis, Missouri, got trained, and then started my business.
I love it.
And 10 years later, I'm still doing it, still loving it, enjoying working with people and all the different, areas of my business.
Right. I think that's great. And I think, to me, etiquette is also a way to just show that you care and respect somebody.
Yes.
Right? It's funny, as we were emailing, about you being able to come on the show and things like that, I was laughing at myself because I caught myself like triple proofing my emails to you. Like I'm afraid, or you probably were, grading my emails and whether or not you're worthy of, my show is worthy of you.
No, I was not.
Although maybe if the reverse would have been true, maybe it would have been so bad you're thinking this gal needs help. I got to show up. But, it just made me laugh to realize that, in today's day and age, typing on a computer is one thing, but so much of it is done on our phones and between the autocorrect and you're on the fly and, the amount of misspelled, inappropriate emails that go out, meaning you thought you were typing something and you really typed something else.
Right.
And I think we give each other a lot of grace because we're all doing that. Mm-hmm. When you get something from someone else, you're like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what they meant instead of what I got.
Right.
So I on the one hand, I think that's wonderful, but I think, really it's a sign of respect to go back and just proof that thing and make sure that what I'm sending you is really what I meant to send you.
Exactly.
And that I'm not forcing you to now sit there and translate my autocorrects.
And I think, I mean, I am guilty of sometimes sending out an email, if you can believe it, with some errors. So I'm human, especially if it's on my phone. But it's also, it's really about professionalism. So, if you see an email full of spelling errors and grammar errors, or one that doesn't have a greeting and a closing, it's it's a little abrupt, a little a little direct, you kind of are taken back, like,
Yeah.
So, those are the things that I think we need to pay attention to, is like, what's the message we're sending through this email? Sure, it's, we're going to have errors. It's going to happen.
Right.
But is it friendly? Is it professional? Those are the things to pay
And you
attention
actually teach a class on this, don't you?
Yeah, so digital diplomacy is one of the classes I teach, and we talk about email etiquette, phone, texting, conference call etiquette, all those areas.
Which I think it's so necessary because you see it, and I think you teach it for kids as well, right? And teens.
Yes.
Which, it's interesting. We have an 11 and a 13-year-old. And, there's certain things as a parent, you'll think, oh, okay, we need to have a discussion about that. I didn't know. A perfect example is, our 13-year-old was texting. He got a phone and he was texting, but then he gets into school and now he has to email his teachers. And, then they go to email the way they text, which, first of all, that doesn't work. Right. And now he's emailing a teacher versus a peer, and we had to have wait a second, this is not how this goes.
Yes.
You are not going to get the answer you want based on what you just sent. Which, like I said, was interesting. Didn't occur to me that was something, because I am of the generation, we learned letter writing before email was around.
Exactly.
And so we translated that over to how we do emails.
Yeah.
And so we didn't get training on it, but I think we kind of had it in a different format, right? Whereas now kids these days, they don't get any of that. And It was
That's
interesting.
such a good point. Yeah, because when they start with texting and then they go to email, it is really a different medium.
Right.
And texting is a lot more casual, a lot more informal. You don't have to necessarily have these perfect sentences, and you can use text speak. And so it went coming from like coming from a letter to an email, you just did translate that. And
Right.
that's often what I will say when I'm teaching adults, think of email as the old letter that we used
Right.
to type.
Yes.
And now it's email. And then texting is one step down. But having to teach people, the step from texting, that's true. It's a little trickier.
And I'm sure my millennial clients laugh at me because when I text them, it's like a letter, like, "Hi, Sally, comma."
Yes.
Here's the send. And then I still send it all the best. I can't not do it.
I know. I'm the same way. I know.
So I'm sure they're getting a chuckle out of it on the other end. But oh well.
Oh, those boomers and Gen Xers.
Yeah.
Are you a Gen Xer?
Yes, I'm going to say
okay.
yes.
All right. Yeah.
So what are some tips? What are, we talked about a great one actually before we started the show, and then I know you've got some other great tips. One of the things I learned is, when you do a toast in a public setting, that, usually, and you see it this way in the movies actually, and on TV, is it's all about raising the glass, and that actually raising your glass so that it blocks your view and the other person can't see your face is actually not correct, right? You're supposed to keep that glass lower so that they can still see your face and your expression.
Right. So yes, when you're toasting, you want to hold it, about chest height. It doesn't have to be really low, but you're right. You don't want it to block your face.
Right.
And if you're giving a toast, so either if it's a small group, you could stay seated and hold it, at chest height. And then if you're standing, you're going to hold it a little farther away from you.
Okay.
And that would be for a bigger group.
Got it.
Yes, you will keep it away from you, but not,
right in front of your face.
So let me tag team on this question too, because I DJ weddings on the side, and I usually announce like, okay, everyone grab your glasses, and then let's give a toast. So like the proper etiquette that way. So obviously it's for the bride and groom, or groom and groom, or bride and bride. So whichever. But is there a proper way to announce that for me on my side of things? Like, do I mention that, or do I have someone else still take care of that? See what I'm saying?
I think it's okay for you to mention it. I mean, typically the best man makes the first toast. Okay. And so, you could prompt the best man to do that. But if the best man was uncomfortable coming up to the stage and saying, now we're going to give the first toast, then it's fine for you to do that.
And so then the couple, the wedding couple, then they're not allowed to hold their glasses then? Or
so when you're being toasted, you shouldn't pick up your glass.
Even though they usually are.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, people just do it. But typically, what you're trying to do, exactly, because when you pick it up, you're sort of toasting yourself.
Okay.
And so that's why you want to keep it down. Once the toast is over, you can pick it up, say thank you, and then drink, or return a toast.
All right.
I know.
No,
but
it's good to know.
This is what I say. When in Rome, do as the Romans. So if everyone, if you're in a group and everyone's holding their glass up, hold your glass up.
Do what the Romans do.
Yeah.
So telling everybody they're doing it wrong is not proper etiquette.
Probably not.
Okay.
Probably not.
Probably wouldn't be hired for the next wedding anyways, too.
That's right. Good question, Benny. So tips. I'll go back to why I got into, what planted the seed for etiquette, because I think this is something that so many people can benefit from. And that is when you sit down to a full play setting, with, at least 2 forks on the left and the fork in the top and the spoon and the dessert, and the knife and the spoon on the right, and a bread plate and a glass, and people are like, oh my gosh, which one is mine? What do I use? But so these are 2 tricks that will always, always help you. So you can do it 2 different ways. You can hold your fingers up like this.
Yes,
love the B this. And the D. Yeah, left hand makes a little B when you're looking at it, and that stands for bread plate. Bread plate's always on the left because it's made with your left hand. The little D stands for drinks because your drinks are always on the right.
Yes.
So then okay, this bread plate over here, it's on the left. That's mine.
Right.
The drinks here on the right, those are mine. So what happens if someone gets it mixed up and the table's all off and you take the wrong bread plate? Just use your dinner plate.
Got it.
So
okay.
that's the really helpful one. Another way to remember it is BMW. Bread, meal, water.
Love it. Okay.
The other one is outside in. So always start with the utensils farthest from the plate and work your way in, no matter how many utensils there are.
Got it. I love it. And you know what, that B and D, so I think our boys taught us that after coming to your class.
Good.
And it has actually become a fantastic icebreaker when we're at, auctions or whatever, and you're sitting next to somebody and somebody always asks at the table, what do we do?
Yeah.
So here's how you know, B and D.
Yep.
And then people get all fired up. They're like, that's the coolest thing ever. I'm going to go teach my grandkids or my kid, So it just it ends up actually being a fun little icebreaker.
Totally
That's
trade.
so
I'd be
great.
like, no, I have D&D. Yeah. I don't need any bread. I'm good.
Then go with the BMW, Betty.
I love it.
You can't go wrong with BMW.
Awesome. Well, and speaking of table manners, our boys, like I said, they did one of your manners classes. It was fantastic.
Oh, good.
And it,
I'm glad.
it was great, and it was so funny. I thought, gosh, I really want our boys to do this, but how am I going to get them engaged? So I thought, well, let's get a group going, right?
Yeah.
So then it's the delicate, well, how do I invite these other boys without their moms thinking there's an ulterior motive, right?
When they come to my house.
Yes. So I thought, okay. So my go-to tends to be, if you can kind of throw yourself under the bus a little bit. So the note I sent out was, all of your boys are lovely. There is no hidden message. My boys are not getting a second date with their current table manners.
I love it, Nicole. That is so great. And that is perfect manners.
There you go. Okay,
that is
perfect
manners.
I was hoping you would say that.
Yes.
So I just said, my boys, I love them. They're going to get the first date. They are not getting second dates currently. I think at the time they were probably like 8 and 10. I don't know if they cared about second dates, but I did. So I'm like, they need to go to this class, and they loved it. So it was nice. They, there was camaraderie. They all got dressed up. Some of them wore ties. They had button-downs. They were just the cutest little bunch of kids.
Oh.
But
yeah, they are so cute.
They came back, and one of the takeaways they got from you was the big placemat where it's all lined up, right?
Yes,
where it shows you where everything's going. We still have that.
Do you? Oh, good.
Yes, and it's adorable. When we have people over for dinner, we'll ask the kids to set the table, right? Which is and we do it a little fancier than we do for every day. So sure enough, our youngest one, he gets out that thing, and then you'll just stand there at the table. Hey, are we having fish? Are we having soup? Like he's just going down each of the things, trying to figure out what we're having and what he needs to find. So it's great.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that they've taken that away and that they still remember and they're practicing what they learned and they had fun.
Yes. So we're not quite to the
great.
dating yet. I can't tell you if it's working to get them second dates, but one can hope.
You'll find out. I'm sure they will. I'm sure they'll have lovely manners.
They're very handsome boys. They have great manners.
I bet they do. I bet they do. That's so fun.
Yeah. And what other? You've got summer's coming, which is summer camp season.
Yes.
And you have some great ones coming up.
We do. Yes.
For kids,
we've got
what do you have
4
coming
summer
up?
manners camps in July and August.
Okay.
And they're Monday through Friday, 9 to noon. We serve a snack each day, and then Friday is the big culmination event, and they are served a 3-course lunch, so they practice what they've learned.
Okay.
They also create little posters on Friday that has their etiquette, what their favorite etiquette tip was.
I love it.
And it's fun because then they get to remember what they learned over the week. So we cover everything from how to make a good first impression with your handshake, your eye contact, your posture, appropriate attire. So we talk about, what would you wear at a wedding? What's appropriate at school? How about when you're going on a play date or to a piano recital?
Yeah.
So we talk about how, you need to dress appropriately based on what the event is. We also get into, as you talked about, digital diplomacy. So we focus, because they're younger kids, we focus on email. And we do get into social media a little bit around bullying.
Sure, yes.
So we cover that.
It's a big topic these days.
It is a big topic.
There's a lot going on with that.
Yeah. So we show a really fun video on that, and they love it. We get into manners outside of the home. We talk about, what else do we talk about? Oh my gosh, we have so many wonderful things that we cover. And the kids just have so much fun. They just have a really great time because we make it really interactive, and they do word searches and they do discussion.
Oh, I love it.
We get them up and moving, and so.
Good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, and if you would like more information on the summer camp classes, go to NicoleMangina.com/podcast, and we'll make sure we have the link on there so people can do. I highly recommend those classes. Like I said, our boys took it. We had such a good time. And everybody that came with them, all the parents had good things to say about the experience. Yeah,
That's
they were
great.
pretty cute. It was fun.
Oh, I bet they were. Yeah, that's so fun.
Yeah, so what are some other business tips?
Business tips?
For etiquette.
Well, gosh, let's see. There's so many different things we could talk about. One of the biggest one, I think, is really phone use. People are spending a lot of time looking at their phones in the presence of others.
Yes.
And it's like I equate it like turning your back to someone, basically, ignoring them. So put your phone away, and also, especially in conference meetings, conference calls, meetings, when you take your phone out and you're looking at it, you're not able to be present. You miss information. People see you, even though you think you're hiding it. I'm just looking at my phone.
We all think we're secretive.
We're not.
Yeah, we're not fooling anybody.
Exactly. So what happens is, let's say, and I know you would never do this because you have such lovely manners, Nicole, but you're looking at your phone.
I'm on my best behavior today.
You're looking at your phone, and I'm, running the meeting, and I see you looking down. I think, well, I'm not going to ask Nicole because she's busy looking at her phone. So, I'll ask someone else. So you miss out on, possibly being asked a question or involved or
being able to contribute.
Exactly, being able to contribute. So I would say that's a really big one. Just don't even be tempted. Leave it at your desk. Don't bring it into the meeting. And I know some people say, well, I take notes on my laptop or my tablet or whatever. And if that's what you do and that's all you do.
Yes. It's funny when I meet with my real estate clients, right? We always start with that initial consultation. I have a big notebook that I handwrite my notes. And they're scribbled and they're all over the place. But I do that specifically, even though it's low tech, because I can create more eye contact.
Yes.
I can do more of that than if I'm typing.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
If I'm typing, I'm really at the screen, and there's just something about it. It feels like there's a barrier.
Exactly.
So even in today's day and age, on the one hand, it would probably be more convenient to type it into something because then I just have it. Sometimes there's some double duty there, but I have always stuck with handwriting my notes in a meeting because I think it helps me remember it more, but I feel like I'm more engaged with the person I'm talking to.
You are, and studies have shown that you remember things better when you handwrite them.
Yes.
So you're doing exactly what you need to do. That's perfect.
Yay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So I would say a couple. This one is I'm asked a lot about. Should I stand if a man will ask me, should I stand if a woman comes in or leaves a meeting? And I always say no, because in business, you would only do it if you would do it for a man. So business etiquette is different from social etiquette. You could stand socially if a woman, when she comes in or leaves a room. It doesn't happen as often. But in a business situation, no.
Okay. I have a question for you. So glad I remembered this. I almost forgot. Not related to business, but for young men, typically you call somebody sir or ma'am. Is there an alternative to ma'am? Like our son has gotten in trouble multiple times for calling women ma'am because they actually think he's being disrespectful. And he's not.
I did it recently.
Yeah.
So is there something, is there a new term we're supposed to use, or is that, what do they do?
Excuse me, and not use a pronoun, ma'am or sir. Just say excuse me.
Well, somebody will say something like, or he'll say, hey, Alex, will you do this? Yes, sir. Right? So and then does he just to the woman say yes instead of yes, ma'am?
This is what I would say. If he's in the South, absolutely use ma'am and sir.
Okay.
Because it's part of their culture and it's expected.
But in the Pacific Northwest, not so much. Okay.
Yeah, because it's true. Women really are offended by ma'am. It feels like we're being told we're old.
Yeah, or they think he's trying to be sarcastic.
Yeah.
And he's actually not.
Yeah, well, he's being very respectful.
I feel like I'm being respectful, and that's how it was taught to treat,
right.
people above my age
Yes.
range, or,
Yes.
and
Yes.
just being polite.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just so drop it all together.
Drop it all together here in the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, it's
All
just
right.
it's got some weird connotations for people.
It does, and
Makes
it's
sense.
too bad because I think it puts people in a difficult position. They're trying to be
It
respectful,
does.
and it's misconstrued as okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, God, we have so many good tips. Oh, and I don't want to forget, Arden has a phenomenal book. We'll also have the link on this at NicoleMangina.com/podcast. Spinach in Your Boss's Teeth. Perfect title. Oh my
Thank
goodness.
you.
All kinds of phenomenal tips in here
Yeah.
for what to do in different situations.
Absolutely. Yes.
yeah.
Networking, dining etiquette, first and lasting impressions, a little bit of global etiquette.
Okay.
So, gestures not to use when you're in various countries.
Okay, perfect. Always helpful.
The universal one doesn't
Should I
work
kiss?
everywhere.
And
Yeah,
which
right?
cheek do I kiss on?
That's a lot of pressure,
Ooh, yeah.
right? Yeah. Do you go right, left? or-
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Awesome. So phenomenal tips in here. Always worth reading. And I just love the title Spinach in Your Boss's Teeth because we have all been in that scenario.
I
At some point, you're like,
know.
geez,
What do I do?
I feel rude not to say something because they're going to go figure it out afterwards and figure out I'm a big jerk because I didn't say
I
something.
didn't say anything.
But I don't want to embarrass them. And then you realize, well, you might as well be embarrassed for 30 seconds versus the next 30 minutes or however
Absolutely.
long.
People are usually thankful that you
Oh,
told them.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're doing them a favor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Arden. I so appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Again,
Thank you.
Yeah, Arden Clise with Clise Etiquette. We will have all of her links on the website. And we will see you again next week. Thanks so much and make it a great day, you guys. Take care.
Cool. All clear.
Bye.
Very fun.
We
Nice
did it.